And what's up, SRL League fans, and welcome to the International GT3 Championship Season 4. We are back with sports car racing here on the SRL League channel. My name is Sandro Doulis. I'll be a commentator for today and probably the rest of the season. And yeah, we're gonna get started with an all-time classic, one of the crown jewel events of the SRL League season, with the 2.4 hours of Daytona. I'll quickly work on the stream settings and I'll be back in a second. So you may be wondering why it's me up in the commentary booth. I'll be your commentator for this race and probably the rest of the season. Lance and Samuel, who you saw or heard in the commentator booth throughout the last 3 International GT3 Championship seasons, won't be here. So yeah, I will take over the duty to do commentary for you guys. Obviously did it in the second half of last year's championship. It's a lot of fun, but I also wish I could be out on track, not gonna lie with you, but it will be a good time. Hopefully some good action on track, and I'm sure actually that we will have some good action on track. We got a 15-minute qualifying session followed by a 2.4-hour race. Obviously 2.4-hour length because it's equal to the 24-hour race, so time progression will be times 10, so we have a full 24-hour cycle. And it is time to ready up and get going into the session. There we go. If you got some questions about the championship, it's another 6-round championship. Obviously starting now in the middle of November and it's going to end in June. So we got some really nice events, some racetracks we don't usually see on the calendar, especially on the F1 scene. Obviously starting up with Daytona, a traditionally the first race of our GT3 championship. Last few seasons have been interesting, quite wet to say at least. And there we are. So we got 8 cars on the grid. Or in the session, let's put it like that. And we will run through all of them in just a second. can hear a car going out, and it's the Mercedes of Cameron Weston Edwards. Yes, that is Cameron Weston Edwards. He only did a one-off race last season, which was at Portimao, if not mistaken. He's a reserve driver, obviously one of the most successful SRL League F1 drivers, still searching for the first win. Hopefully it's coming soon at some point. But yeah, he's testing himself out on the GT3 scene, did that one race last season, which went really well, I would say. He was really competitive straight from the get-go, which is something Cameron Weston Edwards excels at. He can hop into any car at any time and be competitive, and he finished P4 just off the podium during that Portimao race last season. So you got 15 minutes of qualifying, setting the grid for the 24-hour race. As we can see, Cameron Weston Edwards waving by the Ferrari of Logan Orand. P3 in last year's championship. Had a rough stretch in the middle of the season with 2 retirements at Nürburgring and Spa, but finished off the season strong with 3 podiums in a row, obviously highlighted by the win in Oschersleben. He's definitely one of the favorites going into this season. I would definitely keep an eye on Logan Orand, just like in the F1 Championship, where he's obviously leading the championship comfortably. For the high banks of the oval, obviously. Daytona, well known for its oval racing. The NASCAR Cup Series, obviously, with the Daytona 500 always running in February. But we are taking a hard right into turn 1 right here with a hard, very, very tricky braking zone. It's bumpy. It's you have to turn while braking, which is never ideal in a race car. Really tricky corner. And then we go into this infield section, highlighted by these 2 horseshoes, where Logan Orand is currently on the exit. Gotta get the power down into the kink, which can be tricky on cold tires. Now, well, a little wiggle there from Logan Orand, another hard braking zone into the second horseshoe hairpin. And then this very, very bumpy section here, back onto the oval. Pretty clean lap so far from Logan Orand, as he's coming into the bus stop chicane, probably the most, yeah, apart from turn 2, probably the most difficult corner on this racetrack. Really clean and tidy there from Logan Orand. Back onto the oval now is just a long run. You need engine power on this track, which should suit the Ferrari. On to start finish line. Let's see what it's going to be for Logan Orand. It's a 45 flat. That's 2 seconds quicker than Senna Hervaya, who's currently running in second place. We can see champion Max Moeller exiting the pits. Just talked about Senna Hervaya. This is his SRL League GT3 Championship debut here today. The Belgian obviously coming over from the F1 series. The Dutchman. Excuse me, it's a Belgian team, WRT. That's what I got mixed up with, sorry, my bad. Cameron Weston Edwards put in the time. He's currently sitting 3rd. And Nick van Heller just starting his flying lap. He's our SRL League GT3 Season 1 champion. Had quite a rough season last year, only 1 podium, which came at the Nürburgring. Apart from that, a lot of 2 non-starts a disqualification at Imola, and three top fives. So yeah, he's definitely looking to win again. He hasn't won in the GT3 Championship since Season 2 at Fuji. Onto the high banks. Kaz Nuchians is currently just set a lap time that is good enough for third place. Kaz Nuchians, a sensation that joined during the middle of last season's championship. Straight from the get-go, super competitive and fast. He had heartbreak at Portimao when he disconnected after leading for the entire race with just about 15 minutes to go, but then got redemption in the final race at Zolder, winning his first ever race. He's definitely looking to build on that. And here we are back at Nick van Gelder. We've lost someone, I think. We were 8 cars in the lobby. I think we've lost Christian Dorman. Let's hope he can get it back into the session. Van Gelder goes 4th quickest and goes wide into turn 1 onto the grass. Whoa, little hop there over the... Oh, but he catches it. Big save there, big moment from Nick van Gelder. And thankfully avoided the wall. As Kaz Nuchians goes 2nd place. Second of Logan Orand. Let's pick up Jason Gilbert in the Porsche. This is also his SRL League International GT3 debut, and his rear end looks kinda crushed. So it seems like he had a wall contact somewhere. He's currently sitting 6th on the grid. With Max Mulder, who hasn't, behind him, who hasn't set a competitive lap time yet. His lap is 16 seconds off the pace, so he's probably aborted the last lap, I imagine. And Christian Dorman is back in the session, so good to see that, the German being back. This will mean he will start the session from last place, the race from last place, but that is something we haven't picked up on yet. It's a 2.4-hour race, so anything can happen. This qualifying session really doesn't mean a whole lot. It gives us an indication of who can be quick, but in the end, the 2.4-hour endurance race is something completely different, as Max Mulder is now coming onto the start-finish straight to complete his first competitive lap time. It's good enough for 3rd for the Season 3 champion. Wow, get the car turned in there for turn 1. The car looks really twitchy. I don't think that Max Mulder is quite happy with his setup just yet. Obviously won this race last year. Generally speaking, Max Mulder is the master of the 2.4-hour races in SRL. He's won Daytona last season. Boy, as he gets on the grass on the exit of the 2nd horseshoe. He won Le Mans last season, and he's looking to add another one to his trophy cabinet today with his 2nd 2.4-hour of Daytona win, as he just aborts this lap, I think. So we're going to pick up Nick van Gelder, who's coming into the bus stop chicane. As he gets on the grass, the car seems really loose for Nick van Gelder. Onto the high banks. The engine screaming, you are on the limiter. And he can improve on his time. Jason Gelbert still with that damaged Porsche. I think just in front of him is Christian Dorman, so he is out on track, which is good to see. The sole Lamborghini on track. Beautiful race car. Let's see, I don't know if he was on his out lap or this is his first flying lap. He was on his out lap, so let's stay with Christian Dorman and have a look what he can do. As he goes wide in turn 1 and loses the rear end, spins his Lamborghini around. Really easy to happen in that corner. Many have done this before, and this won't be the last time we've seen this today. Let's pick up Senna Hervey, who's still sitting in a decent P4, I have to say. Good job by him so far. He's got really loose there on the exit of the kink. Just keeps the car on track, takes out the cones, and this lap ruined. Cameron Weston Edwards back out of the pits. Onto the high banks. As he's going to start his flying lap. Have a look at Logan Orand, who's just started his flying lap. So it's all or nothing now for Orand, and this lap is probably already nothing as he goes wide through turn 1. Kaz Nuchians back in the pits, he just improved his time. He is now only 8/10 of current pole sitter Logan Orand. Let's pick up Nick van Gelder again, currently sitting 5th. He's 2.5 seconds off provisional pole. Let's see if he can get closer to that time. As he aborts the lap, so he's starting another flying lap. Cameron Weston Edwards. What can he do in his first qualifying session for Mercedes? He got Senna Hervey, I think it is, right behind him. Hopefully they won't get in each other's way here in qualifying. That's definitely something you don't want. This might actually help him. Or is it Max Mulder? I think it's Max Mulder. Yeah, this might help Max Mulder immensely because he got a massive slipstream now for the entire oval section, at least until the bus stop chicane from Cameron Weston Edwards. He'll be thanking him. As we can see, Senna Hervey in front of him. As we go into the start finish straight, let's see what can Cameron Weston Edwards do. It's P4 for Weston Edwards, and I think Mulder has made contact with the wall somewhere because his last lap time was not good enough. Logan Orand starting another lap. This will be his final lap as the time has run out, so only as Nick van Gelder has a big moment in the background, as you can see. He is done for his session probably now. As he spins, as we just saw that. So the laps that got started already can be completed as we lost someone again. I think it was Christian Dorman again. Oh man. So he's having massive connection issues, which is a real shame to see. It's looking really good for Logan. I think he just invalidated his lap time. But even though he did, I think he should be good for pole. Max Mulder is still on a lap, so is Cameron Weston-Edwards, but he, I think... Oh, someone spun in front of them. That was Nick van Gelder, who was crashing through the advertisement boards. I think Cameron Weston-Edwards might have a penalty to his name because he got this sign next to his name on the leaderboard. What can Max Mulder do? Does he have something for Logan Allrand? He improves his lap time, not his position though. And this is it. So it will be a front row of Logan Allrand, followed by Cas Nuggians, then it's Season 3 champion Max Mulder, followed by Cameron Weston-Edwards, Senna Herrweier in the Audi. 6th is Nick van Gelder, 7th in his debut is Jason Gilbert, followed by Christian Dorman, who I really hope will be on the grid. Let's get into the session. We only got 7 cars on the grid, so we lost Christian Dorman. That is disappointing to see. I really wanted to see what Christian Dorman could do. So drivers are making last-second adjustments to their strategy and their setup, so that's why we're standing on the grid waiting for the drivers to ready up, and then we're good to go for 2.4 hours. It's the calm before the storm. We're running for another Rolex. Who can get it? We got 3 different manufacturers in the top 4. And we got an American in his home race, sitting on pole position. 2 champions on the grid as well, with Max Mulder in 3rd, the Season 3 champion, and Nick van Gelder in 6th, the Season 1 champion, both running for Audi as teammates as well, so this will be an interesting lineup to look at. We got the rookie Jason Gilbert in 7th. This is also a race on home soil for him as well, the American obviously, as we're waiting for the drivers to ready up. There we go. No formation lap. We got a straight run to the start finish line, and then we will get going. 2.4 hours of racing for Rolex at Daytona, and here we go as Logan Allrand has a big moment already on the cold tires. Cameron Weston-Edwards splits the middle, has some contact with Max Mulder. Great start by Weston-Edwards, who dives down the inside up to 2nd place already. He goes past Cas Nuggians. Max Mulder tries to find a gap. He's next to Cas Nuggians. It's side by side for the 2 Dutchmen. And Mulder got the position. Now it's Nick van Gelder around the outside of Nuggians. And Senna Herrweier dives down the inside. It's 3 wide for the Audis. Brilliant start there from Cameron Weston-Edwards, who is now under attack from Max Mulder. They are side by side going into the kink. Max Mulder got the preferred line for the horseshoe, and Max Mulder goes into 2nd place. Logan around in front. Weston-Edwards goes deep there a little bit, and he misses out to Cas Nuggians. So Weston-Edwards is back in the starting slot as he goes really deep. There's some contact there with Senna Herrweier, and After this brilliant start, Kevin Wester-Edwards has already dropped back down to 6th. Straight line speed comparison. Mercedes versus Audi. It looks like the Mercedes is trimmed out. Look at that. And slipstream for Jason Gilbert as well. And they'll fly past the Audi of Senna Herweijer. But Senna Herweijer goes deep. So goes Wester-Edwards. And both keep it straight. Wow. Big moment for those two. Cas Nurians just went past Max Mulder. We unfortunately missed that on screen. That was into the bus stop chicane. And someone who's enjoying all of this battling is Logan Orand, who's already leading by 1.5 seconds. So everything going to plan for the American. And lap 1 of many is completed. Wow, so much action on lap 1. Nurians. Oh, and Cameron West-Edwards goes deep, there's contact. And around goes Cas Nurians. This is Senna Herweijer who's also involved. Cameron Wester-Edwards is still going. He doesn't seem to have damage, but there was a big lob up, big mistake there from Cameron Wester-Edwards, who just re-ended Cas Nurians into turn 1. Senna Herweijer got going again, so has Cas Nurians. I don't think there's significant damage to any of those cars. Really, really lucky for Cameron Wester-Edwards that that he didn't hit that inside pit wall, because that would have been race over. And this has spread the field a little bit at least. There's now a 2-second gap between Max Mulder and Cameron Wester-Edwards in 3rd. As you hop on board with the Brit. Going into the bus stop chicane. Onto the curb, you can take some grass there. It really depends if the game gives you a slowdown penalty. The driver's always taking all the road they can get. As there's a free car battle now going into turn 1 again. I hope these guys are careful. We got so much time on the clock left. Nurians had a look down the inside of Herweijer. This is like NASCAR. Almost 3 wide going over the line. Senna Herweijer got the inside, the preferred line into turn 1. He goes really late on the brakes. Can he keep it? Yeah, he got it stopped. They all go a little bit deep though. Nurians behind got past Gilbert. And Herweijer goes deep and loses the position to Nurians again. And here comes Gilbert. Not close enough. Maybe with some slipstream. Through the kink they go. Too far away. While all this is happening, I'm keeping an eye on Max Muller, who's slowly creeping into the picture, into the rearview mirror of Logan Orand. He's closed down the gap to 1.3 seconds. It was up to about 2 about a lap ago. So Max Mulder looking at making this a race for the lead. Max Mulder coming off his first ever SRL League F1 win last week at Imola. So he got a massive confidence boost last week. Back to this battle. They're closing in on Nick van Gelder, who's running about a second in front of them. There we can see them. Herweijer goes deep. Contact for Nurians again. Senna Herweijer spins. Nurians keeps it straight. And oh my goodness, huge crash for Senna Herweijer. He got T-boned there by Jason Gilbert. His front end is damaged. Herweijer is back on his wheels and he got going again. So from upside down, back on his wheels, and he keeps going. But he got a lot of damage to his Audi. And it's a long way back to the pits for the Dutchman. Man, what a shame. There was a concertina effect because Senna Hellwire went deep into turn 1, lost it on the brakes, made some contact with Cas Nuchians, then was in the middle of the racing line and Jason Gilbert had nowhere to go and just T-boned Senna Hellwire, who, as you can see by his moving, must have huge suspension damage. And he will have a lengthy repair in the pits. I hope for Jason Gilbert that it's just cosmetic damage to that front bumper, because if he has suspension damage, that will be another long pit stop. So Cas Nuchians has gotten rear-ended twice already now in the first 4 laps of this race, going to turn 1. I was talking about Max Mulder, by the way. He's lost another 1.2 seconds. Last lap was over a second slower than Logan Oran, so that gap has gone up to 2.4 seconds again. This is Senna Hellwire on his slow, crippling way back to the pits. Nuchians just passed Nick van Gelder, who is going around in turn 1. I thought he went deep, he did, and this is a big chunk of time lost for the Dutchman, who's now the rear end of the field as Jason Gilbert just entered the pits for repairs, unfortunately. Senna Hellwire still got a... yeah, he's just about there almost. Oh, this car is totaled. Let's see what the WRT crew can do to get this car back in the race. And the long repair for Hellwire begins now, as Gilbert is exiting the pits now again, so he won't lose a lap, I think. Yeah, there's Oran coming through the bus stop, so Gilbert will stay on the lead lap, which is good for him. Won't be the same for Hellwire, I imagine. I think he will lose a few laps here, unfortunately. But as I said earlier, it's a 2.4-hour race. We've not even seen 10 minutes of racing yet. There's so much racing left. Just stay in this race, and might be difficult with the win, but you could still grab a podium here. As Oran flies past that finish now and puts Senna Hellwire 1 lap down. Last lap for Oran was a 46.6. Max Moeller with a 47.1, so another 5/10 slower. Massive slide there from Max Mulder. Deep again, going into the horseshoe. I think Hellwire has gone out of the pits. Yes, he is coming out of the pits just right now. So that's a quick repair job there from the WRT crew. He flipped a lap ago, lost about a lap, and is back in the race. That's what I call teamwork. Wow, impressive. So Senna Hellwire only a lap down after going upside down and flipping. Impressive stuff there from the WRT crew. So he's back in this race. Snuchian's pits. That is a really early pit stop. I do not think that this is scheduled. Nah, he got enough fuel. This might be a repair pit stop. Ah, that's a shame. And he comes back out again. Yeah, must have been repairs for the Dutchman. He had quite a bit of rear end damage after getting hit by Herwire and Weston Edwards on lap 2. Ah, disappointing for Nurians, who's going to drop down to 5th now. Cameron Weston Edwards on the last lap was 3/10 quicker than Max Mulder in 2nd place. So he might be closing the gap. Let's run through the field and have a look at the different kinds of fuel strategy as Senna Herwire comes back in the pits. There must be more repairs here now for the Dutchman. Let's have a look at the different kinds of fuel strategy. As you can see on the right hand side, I've turned on the fuel indication. The 120 you can see on the right hand side of your screen. Let's run through the field and see what different kinds of strategies we have. So Logan Around must have started the race with a full tank. He got 100 liters left. And as he's coming over the line to start lap 8 now. Around 4 seconds in front of Max Mulder, who got also full tank, a liter less than Logan Orand. Weston Edwards, about the same as Max Mulder. Van Gelder running 4th, same story. Carsten Nuchians just pitted, he obviously got a full tank. So did Jason Gilbert and Senna Herwire, who's coming out of the pits again. So everybody on the same fuel strategy, which is interesting to see. I'm not sure if everybody can make it on 2 stops. It might be a 3-stop race, but we'll figure this out during this race. So Nukians has lost for 20 seconds with that pit stop. I think it was a repair pit stop for the rear end bumper. Otherwise I can't really explain why he made this early pit stop, because he was good on fuel, tire wear probably wasn't an issue. Mulder's last lap 4/10 slower than Logan Orand in 1st, so currently it's looking like great pace from Logan Orand, at least at the beginning of this race. But the great thing about these long endurance races is we got different times. We are running through the night, so different track temperatures, different handling. Some people might suit more, might prefer the night conditions, the lower tire temperatures. So we'll see. This race will develop as Orand is looking at putting Jason Gilbert 1 lap down now. Good job by Gilbert getting off the way. Obviously there are no blue flags in endurance racing. As we can have a look at the helmet cam here from Logan Orand. So you can have a look into the Ferrari cockpit. Through the kink he goes. Bit of understeer. Hard braking now into the second horseshoe. Can get on the power quite early here. His car seems really stable. Difficult braking for this turn because there are a lot of bumps. Definitely difficult in the wet conditions because all the water basically collects between those bumps, as yeah, it's kind of a bowl there between the bumps. And back on to the oval part of the track. Full speed. Let's see what speed he's reaching. He's at 260, 265 as he's reaching the limiter. 270, hard brake for the bus stop. Hit the inside curb, at the other curb, get it turned just about. No corner cutting penalties. That was a really clean run there through the bus stop. One of the most difficult sections on the calendar. Max Mulder is losing quite a lot of time through the bus stop, it seems like. On to start finish, let's see. 269 to 70, 71, 72, 273. Speed comparison to the Audi, who traditionally is a bit slower in the straight line. About 4 kilometers per hour slower for Max Mulder. As the sun is lowering, you can see it's getting quite a bit more difficult now with the vision, as the glaring sunset is hitting the drivers. Having a quick look here at the penalty situation. As you can see on the right hand side, those are the penalties. So after 10 laps we got a 1 second time penalty for Weston Edwards, a 1 second penalty for Nurians, and 10 seconds for Senna Heva. I imagine that is for a speeding, pit lane speeding situation. Heva running 2 laps down at the moment with his 2 pit stops already to his name. We will keep an eye on the penalty situation throughout the race. But for now, 1 second penalty for Weston Edwards, as who we're looking at right now. The way they're running right now, it wouldn't make a difference with a 1 second penalty, but you never know how close it will be towards the end of this race. 5 seconds separating the leaders. Mulder 2/10 slower than Orand on the last lap. He put Gilbert a lap down now as well. As we are racing through the beautiful Florida sunset. On board with Mulder into this difficult braking zone. You can see the glaring sun there outside of the oval. Perfect racing weather so far. Rain nowhere to be seen. I think drivers will be quite happy about that, as we saw a lot of rain throughout the last 3 seasons of SRL League International GT3 racing. Nick van Gelder. Half a minute behind leader Logan Orand. It looks like pace-wise at the moment, the top 3 are quite clear of the rest of the field. They're running high 46 to mid 47s. Cas Nurians is the only other driver that can go with this pace, as he has great pace. He unfortunately had to make that unscheduled pit stop quite early on. As we will hop on board with Logan Orand again and have a look at his helmet camera to see what the conditions are with the sun, the glaring sunset. There we go. Doesn't seem too bad at the moment. Obviously the sun is coming from behind the big oval grandstand, so that might help a little bit. Hard braking. You use that outside Rolex advertisement for indication of where to brake. Headlights turned on now for Logan Orand as we're entering the night phase of this race. It's a long night phase. The longest night phase in real life endurance racing, as this race is obviously happening in January. So the sun sets fairly early. Mulder last lap over a second slower. Then, oh, there's a spin for Mulder. Mulder goes around. He got onto the inside grass, overcorrected, and lost his Audi. And there's a big chunk of time lost for the Dutchman. As you can see, Cameron Edwards creeping in the background. He's now only sitting 4 seconds behind Mulder, and this has cost Mulder dearly. About 7 seconds lost through this incident. We got Racing Champion TV in the live chat. Welcome to the stream, man. Hope you're having a good day so far, and I hope we can make your day even a little bit better with this great sports car racing action. We just saw second place Max Mulder go for a spin, losing a chunk of time to our race leader Logan Orand in the 488 Ferrari. He was currently on his 13th lap of the race through the bus stop chicane. And Van Gelder's last lap was a 2:02. So there must have been a mistake from the Dutchman as well. That is about 15-17 seconds off the pace. So there must have been a mistake from the Dutchman, and that puts Cas Nuggians only about 8 seconds behind him. As, never mind that, commentator's curse, around goes Nuggians, and this will cost him a chunk of time. Thankfully he made that mistakes at a position where there's a lot of runoff area, so he could flip the car back around and is back in the straight line. As it gets darker and darker, the sun has almost fully set now. As Mulder has the lap car of Jason Gilbert in front of him again. Let's see if Gilbert will wave Mulder by again. Obviously, I mentioned earlier, there are no blue flags in endurance racing. You usually have to find yourself around the slower cars. Cas Nuggians' last lap was in 1:59, so he lost about 11 seconds with his spin. Logan Orand's pace is super consistent at the front. He's constantly setting 46.7s, 46.8s on the last lap. Slipstream now for Mulder from Gilbert. Max Mulder flicking his lights, showing that he's there. And Nuggians will, Gilbert will go wide and wave Mulder past. Great sportsmanship. I think Western Airways just went a little wide to turn one. At least that's what it looked like. and track temperatures obviously plummeting down now, so we will see the different kind of phase of the race now, as track temperature is lower. There will be less grip, because obviously this race is running in January, so temperatures will be generally very, very, I mean, for Florida standards, that will be quite low. So it'll be interesting to see of which driver can keep temperature in the tires the best. And this might be a different kind of running order, pace-wise, than during the daytime. I mean, these drivers probably have set up their cars more for, as we can see Senna Herrweier going another lap down, probably more for the nighttime, as the nighttime is the time that's, yeah, most of the race is run at nighttime. So I imagine that the cars are probably set up for these conditions more than the daytime conditions. Last lap, Mulder on the same pace as Logan Allrand, both running 47.6 and 47.7 respectively. Fortunately, there's no on-track battle at the moment. But this will definitely change at some point. I can assure you of that. Someone spun there. I think that was Herrweier. Just got back going. He's flicking his lights. And I think he's checking if they're still working, I think. It's the only reason I can imagine why he's flicking those lights. Ah, it's Vincenzo in the live chat. Nice to see you, Vincenzo. You're having a good time so far with this race. Deep there from Herrweier. Big rear end moment. I mean, he had that massive crash early on. I imagine he's still carrying some damage at least. As Mulder's coming to lap his teammate now. Not his teammate, his friend, excuse me. Both flicking the lights, greeting each other. That's nice to see. We got just over 2 hours, just under 2 hours left in this race. Logan Allrand completing lap 17. 46.5 last lap for Logan Arendt. Will be a 47.6 for Mulder. So Logan Arendt still, yeah, dominating the field at the moment. Nugent is closing the gap to Nick van Gelder again. It's back down to 12 seconds, as he's obviously making the time he lost with his spin back up. It's about, yeah, just under a second a lap quicker than van Gelder. Last lap only 3/10. So it will take him about, I don't know, probably like 20 laps to close that gap again. So he made a mistake, which can happen, but the problem in endurance racing is it's fine if you are like 3-4 tenths a lap slower. If you don't make mistakes, keep your nose clean, you can get a great result. If you are fast but you make mistakes and spins, in this field, if you make a mistake, a spin, lose 12 seconds like Cas Nugent did, it takes ages to get that, to close that gap back down again. So it will take him like 20 laps just to repair the damage he made. He got basically through the spin early on. The time lost to get the time back will take him 20 laps. Talking about 20 laps run in this race. Logan Arendt still up front, followed by Max Mulder 18 seconds behind. Cam Weston-Edwards running in a very, very strong third place, only 5 seconds behind Max Mulder. This is a fantastic run from Weston-Edwards. I can't tell you often enough how impressive Cam Weston-Edwards is. He doesn't have the practice he used to have for racing, because he's busy with university, obviously, since last year's only a part-time driver in the F1 series, now in the GT3 series as well. Generally doesn't really have a whole lot of GT3 experience. He just hops into the car, does a few laps of practice, goes into the race session, and look, he's running third, closing the gap to last year's champion. Just super impressive stuff from Weston-Edwards, and he does this all the time, over and over again. Obviously, last season in his GT3 debut at Portimao, same story. Had a shot at the podium, fell short unfortunately, finished 4th. So, yeah, Cam Weston-Edwards is built for these situations. Go on board with the Brit. There's difficult braking zone turn 1. You can see the tire marks on the, as we can see, the Ferris wheel there on the right side. Beautiful. You could see the braking marks there from all the lockups we've seen already into that corner. blistering lap time from Weston Edwards, a 46.6 as he goes deep into turn 1. With that lap, he was the quickest car on track on the last lap. He's gaining on Max Mulder. I can't tell you how impressive that is. Max Mulder, obviously last season's champion, put in a lot of practice, and West Edwards is on pace here with him. It's wow. I'm stunned, man. Someone you might be missing in this race is Dion Stahl. He unfortunately couldn't make it here today, which is a real shame. We don't see too many races nowadays without Dion Stahl. This is Jason Gilbert. With that beautiful Porsche. Let's have another look at the timing table. What has changed with penalties? Chaos Nutrients now with 3 seconds. But apart from that, I think nothing really has changed. No. Fastest lap of the race so far is from Logan Orant, a 46.4. He's running really consistently though. Cars a lap down currently, Jason Gilbert 1 lap down, and Senna Hervaya 3 laps down. Oh, big slide from West Edwards, keeps it on the track though. Nice save there from the Brit. We had to see the first run of scheduled pit stops. As we're looking at Logan Orand, who's going to put Sandro Doulis 4 laps down, I think it is. Sandro Doulis was strong on pace early on, until the crash. I imagine there must have been more damage done to that Audi, because he's far off the pace at the moment. As Sandro lets Logan Orand past. Nice job. .46.3, new fastest lap of the race for Logan Orand. Max Mulder now 24 seconds behind the American. Second fastest car on track on the last lap was Nick van Gelder. Good to see him finding some pace in his Audi. It's been a bit of a struggle so far today. Not really on the pace, but quite mistake-free so far, so he's running in a pretty comfortable P4, I'm saying, but Kasnurians is still trying to catch up to him. Last lap was 2 seconds slower, but before that he was catching up quite rapidly. I'll say rapidly, about 4/10 a lap. Another mid 46 last lap von Oren. It's his pace is impressive on the one side. On the other side, the most impressive thing about it is he's doing it constantly. So unbelievably consistent. It's like 2 laps ago he had a 47.0 and I was shocked to see like something else at a 46 mid. Unbelievably consistent pace from Logan Orant, which is so difficult in a simulator, especially like something like Project Cars 2, where the car can handle quite differently from lap to lap. Super impressive stuff. .46.6. Over a second quicker than Max Mulder on the last lap. Wes Edwards has kind of dropped off now. He's now running 8 seconds behind Mulder. Last lap was 3 seconds slower than the Dutchman. P3 would still be a massive success for him. This would be a huge success for Logan Orant. Obviously, you don't want to start talking about a race when you're not even halfway through the race, but an American winning on home soil. He obviously won his home race, his home Grand Prix in the F1 series a few weeks ago at COTA. This would be his second home win of the SRL League year. Obviously, we had a home winner at the 2.4 Hours of Daytona 2 seasons ago in Season 2 by Jeremy Pope in the Porsche, as Senna Hervaya has entered the pits. Is this his scheduled pit stop? I'm not too sure. I think we're about 10 laps away from the first scheduled pit stops of the race. Senna Hervaya is still in the pits. I just saw him sending a comment on Instagram, so I imagine he had some time doing his pit stop. Picking up Max Mulder, who put his friend Senna Hervaya another lap down. It's been a rough debut for Senna Hervaya. Max Mulder flicking the lights. He might be listening to the stream. Wanna greet the viewers? Nice scene there for Mulder. Mr. 46 mid, Logan Orant still leading after 30 laps, about half a minute in front of Max Mulder, our reigning champion. Then it's Cam Weston Edwards in his second ever SRL League International GT3 start, over a minute behind race leader Logan Orand, trading by half a minute. Trading by over a minute is Nick van Gelder in P4, our season 1 champion. 8 seconds behind him, it's Kaz Nurians, the fellow Dutchman in P5 at the moment. And then a lap behind, it's Jason Gilbert, who was involved in a big crash on lap 4, including Senna Hervaya, who has made several unscheduled pit stops for repairs, who is now, I think, 5 laps down at the moment. That is your little run through the grid. As Cam Weston Edwards is approaching Senna Hervaya to put him another lap down. Hervaya off into the grass, loses it. Obviously there's no grip out there. Weston Edwards last lap, 1.5 seconds quicker than Max Mulder. He's brought the gap down between those two to 5 seconds again. It was 8 a few laps ago. Weston Edwards caught some grass there on the inside entering turn 1, and you obviously lose all kinds of grip while you're under braking. The tires and brakes really stress, and if you hit a patch of grass while the tires are braking, you just lose all kinds of grip. That's why Weston Edwards just went a little wide there going to turn 1, but well recovered, didn't lose too much time. Another 46 mid by Logan Orand. Gotta say, I love this livery. See, it's the livery. I think it was run in 2017 in the Blancpain GT series, which was called back then, by Giancarlo Fisichella. Beautiful livery, have to say. It's a new livery for Logan Orand, who was running obviously that dark blue Ferrari last season at High Class Racing, together with Samuel Brandt as his teammate. Unfortunately, Samuel Brandt, championship contender last year, not here this season. He couldn't find the time, unfortunately, so Real shame, but I want to give a little shout out to Samuel Brandt if you're watching at home. Hope you're having a good time, my friend, and hope you're enjoying this race as well, even if you're not in the driver's seat. But if you're watching from your sofa, hope we can entertain you on your Saturday afternoon. Nurians has a little warning sign next to his name. I think this might be for a penalty, as unfortunately I missed the part where Nurians caught up to Nick van Gelder, who had a terrible previous lap, a 42.6. That is about 5 seconds slower than Cas Nurians. Senna Helway enters the pits for a 5th time, and this has put Nurians right behind Nick van Gelder, as the two Audis are running in the slipstream of each other. Nurians to the outside in turn 1. Van Gelder goes defensive, keeps the inside line. Nurians tries to cross in front of him, but brakes a little late, and Van Gelder can stay in front. Nurians looks down the inside. No chance though. Van Gelder brakes later. There's a great battle. Really difficult to overtake through this infield section. But obviously if you got that slipstream on the oval part of the track, you got a huge advantage. Meanwhile, another cracking lap by Logan O'Ryan to put in a 47.4 on the last lap. 47.9 by Max Moller running second, half a minute behind the American. Now back onto the oval. Slipstream battle between the two Audis, the two Dutchmans. Overtaking into the Buster chicane is risky and difficult, and Nurians is not even close enough to try something there. Little bit of dust that got kicked up there by by Van Gelder, who seemingly hit the inside grass. Nurians in the draft has to go for the outside again. Van Gelder not moving away from that inside bottom line through the oval section, because obviously the bottom line turns into the inside line for turn 1, but Nurians has too much speed and moves past Van Gelder. Van Gelder now tries the outside into turn 1, really late on the brakes. No chance. Whoa! Big moment there on the inside from Van Gelder, who tried the cutback. And Nurians is through. Ooh, little deep there from Nurians. Van Gelder is back. Nurians had enough of a gap to Van Gelder to not get him, gonna get him too close to make an overtake through the slipstream. But now Van Gelder is right there again, through that mistake by Nurians into the second horseshoe. as we are 1 hour down, 1.4 hours left in this race. Oh, really close there. Nick van Gelder cutting the inside corner, the inside part of the beginning of the bus stop a little bit there. But it seems like Nuchians is running a little bit less downforce than Van Gelder because he got great straight line speed. Van Gelder can't get close enough for an overtake attempt, even though he had slipstream through the entire turn 3 and 4 and a little bit of snap oversteer from Nuchians. And Van Gelder goes through. Nuchians lost it there on the inside a little bit, had to correct and moved up the racetrack. Nuchians got so much straight line speed. Let's put on the indicator on the right hand side to see what speeds he's doing compared to Van Gelder with the slipstream, obviously running a quite a low downforce setup. Also keeping an eye on Van Gelder, Weston Edwards and Mulder. The gap between those two is back down to 5 seconds. It's 253 for Nuchians, 266, 270. Moves down the inside as Van Gelder does not have the straight line speed. And Nuchians got the preferred line. Van Gelder is super late on the brakes. Wow. Oh, there's a little bit of contact made, but I think Van Gelder can keep it around the outside. Now it's side by side through this little snaky section going into the first horseshoe. Nuchians got the outside. Can Van Gelder keep it on the inside? He tries to, but Nuchians closed the door and is in front. I can't believe Van Gelder almost made that outside work into turn 1. Fastest lap of the race last time around by Logan Oran to set a 46.1. That's 1.7 seconds quicker than Max Mulder on the last lap, who meanwhile is being caught up by Weston Edwards. Weston Edwards only 3 seconds behind the Dutchman now. The gap is coming down. There you can see them. Max Mulder. Whoa! Got a little bit of on the grass down the inside. I thought he went around for a second. As the battle between Nuchians and Van Gelder continues. Let's check the speeds again. So with slipstream, Van Gelder is doing 268, and without slipstream, Nuchians is doing the exact same speed. So Nuchians is running, definitely has to be running a low downforce setup because those two cars are identical. It's all through the setup they are running. Interesting to see. And I think you can see it visually as well, because through the corners it seems like the Audi of Nick van Gelder seems to be a little bit quicker, but Nuchians is just flying on the straight lines, which is obviously key on a racetrack like Daytona, where you got a lot of flat out sections, especially for the oval part, of course. Last lap. Another 2/10 gained there by Weston Edwards. On second place, Max Mulder. Let's quickly check the penalty situation. It's 2 seconds for Weston Edwards now, 3 for Nuggians, 2 for Van Gelder, 2 for Jason Gilbert, and 11 for Senna Herbeyer in 7th place. Christian Dorman, unfortunately, already out of the race and retired. As we got the first driver with the scheduled pit stop. Weston Edwards overshoots the pit box. No, that's gonna be a bit of time lost there for the Brit. About 5 seconds lost there. Overshot the pit box, had to reverse into his pit stall. And Weston Edwards is the first one to make a pit stop. I think the Mercedes is the car that has the worst fuel efficiency. Obviously, in the battle against Mulder, that is a disadvantage for Weston Edwards. Yeah, Van Gelder and Nuggians. Van Gelder got past Nuggians again. We unfortunately missed that. Excuse me for that. They're now side by side again through the tri-oval. And Nuggians is through. Let's see, can Van Gelder try it again around the outside? He tries to, but it's not close enough. But Nuggians goes deep. Nuggians is off into the grass. And Van Gelder is through again. These two can't separate each other. In the background we can see Logan Orand, who's closing in on this battle. This is dangerous territory for the American. Because, I mean, these two are concentrated on their battle. And they might not realize they got a leader coming from behind. Obviously there are no blue flags. Weston Edwards is exiting the pits now. Also another fast lap of the race last time around for Logan Orand. Let's see how Weston Edwards manages this super tricky pit lane exit. So tight. Gotta be careful on cold tires now. He does. Max Mulder comes into the pits, so only one more lap than Weston Edwards. He does it a little bit better than the Brit and doesn't overshoot his pit stall. Let's see, fuel coming in. New fresh set of Pirelli tires. And this will promote Nick van Gelder and Cas Nuggians onto the podium spots for the moment, if they don't pit as well. I mean, they're running the same car, so I imagine they have the same fuel efficiency. Even though, I mean, they've been running in each other's slipstream for quite a while, that can be quite fuel efficient. And Van Gelder comes into the pits. No, he doesn't. He faked it, I think. Stays on the inside. And lets Nuggians go. Wait, let me check the data. Oh, Nick van Gelder has 1.5 liters left. I'm not too sure how much a lap takes, but I think Nick van Gelder just missed the pit entry. I'm pretty sure he wanted to pit, but he missed the pit entry and now has to slowly go around for an entire lap trying to get home on just over a liter of fuel. I thought he was faking it, but he just missed it. Max Mulder exiting the pits now. Where's Weston Edwards? Weston Edwards is coming through turn 1. This could be tight. Obviously Mulder with those cold tires. Weston Edwards a little wide though, unfortunately. And Mulder comes out of the pits in front of Weston Edwards. But I think without Weston Edwards overshooting his pit box, he could have been in front of the Dutchman. Nick van Gelder keeps, you can hear it, he's just taking it super easy. Applying barely any throttle. He got half a liter left. Oh, this is going to be so tight. You can see it on the right hand side, the left side next to the gear. 0.3. I think he might not make it. He gotta miss the chicane here, yeah. Take the penalty. 0.1. Let it roll. Oh, costly mistake by Nick van Gelder. And he's out of fuel. Can we roll to the pits? I don't think he can. He's just not gonna make it. He pulled off the racetrack and this is race over for Nick van Gelder. Out of fuel. Wow. What a disaster for the Dutchman. I can't believe it. He didn't make it back to the pits. As Logan Orant is now making his first scheduled pit stop. I'm in total shock. I can't believe Nick van Gelder has made this mistake. Max Mulder running around 3 seconds, I think it is, in front of Weston Edwards now. And Van Gelder keeps sitting there. Oh, big crash! We just moved over there to center. Have I just nailed the inside wall of the exit of turn 1? What has happened there? Jason Gilbert now passing Nick van Gelder in the running order. Van Gelder has turned off his headlights, turn on again. He's not retired, so I imagine he's waiting for some help maybe from Senna Hervaya, who is out of contention. He might help Van Gelder out, possibly. Not too sure though. I mean, they're not teammates, so... Weston Edwards in his charge to catch up to Max Mulder. Moving past the stricken Audi of Nick van Gelder. And there it is. I think Senna Hervaya might help Nick van Gelder, who is out of fuel, back to the pits. No, he's not. He's not! He was just taking the piss. What weird scenes here at Daytona. I thought he was gonna help him, but he just he was like, nope, not gonna happen. And even Helleck keeps sitting there on the inside waiting for, I don't know, a miracle. Well, back to racing action. What a weird situation. Max Mulder in third because obviously Kaz Nurians hasn't made a scheduled pit stop yet. He's obviously running a bit off. Oh, as Senna Helvey goes for a spin in the background, off sync as he had to make that unscheduled pit stop after like 10 laps, I believe it was. I think we might have missed a mistake by Logan Orr, and this lap was a mid 46 again, but the lap before was a 159. I don't think that was his pit lap, so there might have been a mistake there made by Logan Orr. I'm not too sure though. Nice flame coming out of the exhaust there as he moves up the gears. Logan Orand completing lap 45 for the race leader. It's another 46-1. Brilliant lap with a full heavy car after he just made his pit stop. He goes wide. He did a mistake Van Gelder did earlier, touching that inside grass. But yeah, only 41 thousandths off the fastest lap of the race there by Logan Orand. Weston Edwards continues to catch up to Max Mulder. It's 3 seconds separating the two of them. Weston Edwards' last lap was 7/10 quicker than Max Mulder. Jason Gilbert enters the pits for his first scheduled pit stop, obviously after the repairs on lap 4. Oh, Weston Edwards with a 53.5, so there must have been a mistake by Weston Edwards, who goes a little wide there. And this has cost him a chunk of time now again, so the gap is back up to about 4 seconds. Nurian still in second place. His pace is really decent as he makes his first scheduled pit stop, just as I said that. His pace was being really decent. Like he was on the pace of race leader Logan Orant. Obviously, Kaz Nurian's running with an empty tank and a light car, but still, good job. Nick van Gelder on the live set saying I am stupid. Kind of reminds me of that Charles Leclerc team radio a couple of years ago, but yeah, it was just difficult situation there for Nick van Gelder. Tough mistake he made, and he's paying for it. As Nurians drops down the order, he will drop down to P4 as he exits the pits now with a full tank and fresh tires. That puts Cameron Edwards back into the podium positions. Van Gelder is, by the way, still sitting on the inside apron of NASCAR turn 4. Max Mulder passing Nick van Gelder, flashing his lights. I mean, this is kind of a dangerous spot down there. There's a battle and someone might move there. That could be a horrific crash. I mean, he's off the racing line, so I just wonder what he's waiting for. I could imagine that Senna Herweier, who is running 7th, who just goes by Nick van Gelder, puts him a lap down. I think Senna Herweier might push him to the pits, possibly, but Senna Herweier would definitely want to get that position from Nick van Gelder. So he's now up into P6 after flipping on lap 4. That is something. Whoa, Senna Herweier goes around too early on the throttle lane on the exit of the first horseshoe. Kaz Nurians goes by, the Dutchman. And after the couple of mistakes from Cameron Weston Edwards, the gap between Weston Edwards and Max Mulder is up to 8 seconds now. Talk about gaps. Logan Orant leading by over a minute now. He's putting on a clinic. Another 46.1 on the last lap. As we're now just under 1 hour to go. So with 1 hour left, after about 50 laps, Logan Orant is leading the 2.4 hours of Daytona, over a minute in front of champion Max Mulder. He is about 8 seconds ahead of Cameron Weston Edwards, who's putting on a great race, great show. Kaz Nurians, despite an unscheduled early pit stop for repairs, running in a decent 4th position, followed by Jason Gilbert, who was involved in a big crash on lap 4 as well. Talking about big crash, Senna Herweier about 6 laps down. He flipped on lap 4. He made repairs, had to do a few pit stops, and he's now running in P6. And I think what he's gonna do now is help out Nick van Gelder, who is out of fuel. I'm not sure if this is gonna work. Brilliant. That worked horribly. Yeah. So Nick van Gelder waited all this time to possibly get pushed back into the pits, and that did not work out. So yeah, there was a little run through the field. If you're missing Christian Dorman, he unfortunately had to retire just before the race start. We're still not 100% sure what happened there. Might have been a disconnect, might have been him not making it out of the pits when making the setup adjustments. We have to definitely clarify on that later on. And Dion Stahl, who unfortunately couldn't make it here today, he is also missing for the Ferrari Scuderia Corsa team. So now we're in the pits for another pit stop. Carsten Nurians is slowly creeping into the picture. He might have a shot here at a podium. He was just put a lap down there by race leader Logan Orand, but only 14 seconds separating Cam Weston-Edwards and Carsten Nurians, and Carsten Nurians has fresher tires. He's a little bit off sync when it comes to the pit cycle. I think he can make it without another pit stop. I'm not sure about Weston-Edwards. He's down on the apron. He has front end damage and he's moving around. I think Cam Weston-Edwards has made a costly mistake. I think he has picked up suspension damage. Oh, that is a disaster for the Brit, who was looking at a great podium run. Yeah, he definitely has suspension damage. Let's go on board with him and see what the wheel is doing. We can see the wheel. But that is an ill-sounding Mercedes. And let's see, I think he might be heading for the pits here. Yes, he is. Wow. What a shame for Cam Weston-Edwards, who has to pit for repairs. Carsten Nurians flies by into the podium position. And this could take some time. These suspension damages take time to repair. Weston-Edwards must be kicking himself. He had such a good run going. Unbothered by all the drama around him, Logan Orand running his race. I think I don't think he's done more than 3 laps this race that were in the 46. Senna Hellwire in the pits again. I think Nick van Gelder's car. Okay. Just went by his pit crew. And I think Nick van Gelder's car is lagging a lot since there might be a little glitch there involving him. His car, at least. You can see he's just moving around. I think the contact with Senna Hervey when he tried to push him back into the pits kind of glitched Nick's car. So we're definitely going to stay away from his camera angle for now. But it says Nick van Gelder is in the pits, so I think Senna Hervey might have pushed him back into the pits. So let's hope we can see Nick van Gelder back to racing again soon. Weston Edwards has left the pits. That was Max Mulder driving by. The driver he was catching up to, fighting the entire race, and Nick van Gelder just retired of the session. So Nick van Gelder race over. Yeah, must be really difficult for someone like Weston Edwards, who was fighting Max Mulder for the entire race. Now seeing Max Mulder pass him, lap him, due to an unscheduled pit stop for repairs for Weston Edwards, who made a mistake somewhere. We unfortunately didn't have it on the stream, so can't really tell what happened there, but definitely looked like wall contact for the Brit. Weston Edwards is going really slowly. I'm not too sure why is that. Yeah, he just slowed immensely there on the run into turn 1. I'm not too sure why. I'm not too sure what's happening there to Cameron Edwards. He seems a little bit off pace. We'll keep an eye on him. Let's hope that Cameron Edwards can find the pace again. Stay with Kaz Nuchians here for a second, who's putting out a great recovery drive. Obviously was involved in a bit of contact early on lap 2 and on lap 4, and had to pit for repairs to his bumper of the Audi. It was quite a quick repair, didn't lose a lap time, and he was able to fight his way back into P3 at the moment, so he's looking like a possible podium there for the Dutchman, which would be a great recovery from him. Especially if you look at the entire season. I mean, this is round 1, and I think Kaz Nuchians is definitely someone to keep an eye on for a possible championship contender. Generally speaking, we got, in my opinion, the top 3 drivers this season running 1, 2, 3. So, the 3 top dogs showing early on that they are the ones that will and probably will be fighting for the championship this season. Max Mulder doesn't seem to have something for Logan Orant. I mean, it's still about 46 minutes left here in this race, but I don't want to put a commentator's curse on Logan Orant unless something drastically happens to this race, a possible crash or a disconnect. I don't see a way Logan Orant is not winning this event. Obviously there are no safety cars, or as in real life in the Rolex 24 at Daytona, cautions. There are no cautions in this race. So the field won't get bunched up in case of an incident, as we've seen a couple of incidents so far this race. Obviously no cautions or safety cars deployed for those. Logan around, moving past center hair wire. On board with our end. As we can see, the sky is getting a little bit more light now. So I think we're about to hit the point of sunrise here at Daytona in Florida. And Nick van Gelder would like to join the booth. So you're gonna get a quick blue screen here, so I can invite Nick van Gelder to the booth. Give me a short second. I'll invite him to the party. I think we have Nick van Gelder here now in the game chat, I believe. Ah, there he is. Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you. Can the others hear us as well in the game chat, or not? Okay, perfect. Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah, what exactly happened there? When it happened, I first thought you might fake a possible pit stop to kind of distract Cas Nurians, who you're fighting with. But what exactly was that? Because it definitely looked like you were hesitating to go for the pits, to the pit stop. Yeah. Yeah, that is... Oh, as we saw, very close moment there with race leader Logan Orant, who was going deep into the horseshoe with Karen Weston Edwards. both dipped a little bit, I think the right side tire into the grass there on the outside. Hairy moment for Logan Orant. You gotta be careful. You got a big gap to Max Muller in second place. 1 minute and 15 seconds it is. So he got enough of a gap to take it easy here. No risk for the race leader, but that was a hairy moment and a little bit of a scare there for Logan Orant, I can imagine. Nick, you obviously made that mistake. Must be really costly. We saw you waiting for center hair wire to push you back into the pits. That didn't really work out as it looked like. Ultimately this is not an ideal start to the championship for you. Obviously you've won this championship before in season 1. Coming back from this, how do you rebound from such a disappointment? Let me dive in real quick. I think we cannot hear you on stream. There might be a little issue. If you got a second, could you possibly make a party and invite me? So, let's get you. Perfect. So we keep watching Logan Orant, who's back to his 46.8 last lap. As the sun is rising, it's coming up. We're coming back to daytime. We got just under 40 minutes left in this session, in this race. And Logan Orant is coming ever so close to his first ever SRL League 2.4 hour Daytona race win. Quickly gonna join the party of Neek here. So you're gonna get a little blue screen for a second, excuse me. And here we have Nick van Gelder now in the booth. We obviously had a little bit of technical difficulties a second ago. But yeah, Nick van Gelder, you obviously don't have to explain everything again, but could you give us a little rundown what happened there during the night here at Daytona when you unfortunately ran out of fuel and came to a halt just on the exit of the oval section? What happened there?
Yeah, so it kind of looked like maybe I tried to fake gas or something by faking to not going to the pit lane, but it wasn't actually on purpose because I did plan to go into the pits because I had like 1.5 liters left and the average fuel burn is around 2.9, so I wanted to pit and I tried to signal to Gus that I was gonna actually go into the pit lane, but it was just a big confusion because I wanted to turn in for the pit lane and then I saw the concrete wall and I got confused because I thought it was in the penultimate corner for a second, and I didn't actually go to the left to actually enter the pit lane and I actually accidentally went past it, which was just a very stupid mistake and just a big confusion. I think it's also because in practicing qualifying, the drivers often use the reset to pit option, and of course we had this race last year, but considering I hadn't entered the pit lane that weekend, I was just not used to it anymore, and it was just a very silly way to end my race. I did try and lift and coast as much as possible on my in-lap, and of course put the engine straight into lean mix, even tried to cut the bust of chicane to try and make it, but yeah, I just came to a halt just before the final corner, which is a very disappointing way to end my race and a very unnecessary way as well. It's just a very stupid mistake, of course, and it's something that hopefully will never happen again. But every time I make a silly mistake, I somehow find ways to make silly mistakes again. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is, and unfortunately, it's not going to be a finish today. But with only 6 drivers left in the field, at least I've picked up a few points. But it's not ideal to start a championship like this.
Yeah, obviously, but if we look, I mean, this obviously is a massive disappointment for you, I can imagine. You never want to retire in the first race of the season. That's always, you know, not the ideal start to a season. But before that, looking at the race generally speaking, you seem to lack a little bit of pace, at least to the front three. They were quite clear pace-wise. Was this a setup-related issue? We saw you quite slow in the straight line, probably running a lot of downforce, at least compared to Cas Nurians. You kept it quite clean in terms of mistakes, but the pace wasn't quite there. What do you have to do to be back to race-winning pace in the round 2?
Yeah, I don't know, that's a good observation, because indeed the top 3 was very quick today, and I wasn't able to match them, also in qualifying. And I'm not sure if it's setup related. Maybe it is because I actually checked my lap times from last year in the practice sessions, because of course the race was actually wet for the most part of it. I think maybe even the entire race was wet, so that wasn't really relevant in terms of lap times. But of course in practice you are running with lower fuel, but I was able to do like 46 lap times, and today in the race I was basically consistently in the 48s for the first bit, and then when the fuel started to come down I had a few 47s. At the front they were doing like 46s, so I was quite far off, even when I didn't make any mistakes. And I did use a setup which I already had loaded in, but I'm not sure if it was identical to what I was using last year. I was using quite high aero, like 2.7, and I think a lot of drivers were using a lot lower aero than that. Maybe I went a little bit conservative with the radiator opening as well. I'm not actually sure if it's down to me or down to the setup that my pace was lacking a little bit, but yeah, overall my race was going alright. I did make a few mistakes, but at some point I got into rhythm, and I was fighting for P4 with Kaznoyans. I had quite a good fight as well, and I was also saving a little bit of fuel because I was trying to like sort of stretch out the first stint to be able to make it in the second stint with just one stop. And yeah, it was looking right for a finish around P4 or something, maybe even P3 considering he's there now, but I'm not sure if he spit it yet for a second time.
Yeah, he is. He has made his scheduled pit stop. He is a little bit off sync, but he can go to the end.
Okay, yeah. So the race was looking alright, but indeed the pace was quite far off, and too far, of course, to try and challenge for any sort of position at the front. So I don't know, we'll have to figure something out for the next few races, and hopefully the pace is going to be a little bit better there. But I'm not sure if it's setup related or if it's just also maybe a lack of preparation for this race, because I didn't really prepare for this race as I maybe also would have done in previous seasons, and that's also kind of the reason why I made the mistake by missing the pit entry, because that's something that usually would never happen, because yeah, obviously usually in practice you also enter and exit the pit lane a lot of times, but yeah, I think also a lack of practice was indirectly but also made me make this very silly mistake by getting confused where the pit entry was and accidentally driving past it.
Obviously not ideal start to the season, but I hope this will be the last time we will be talking to you in the booth this early on in the race. At least glad to have you here in the booth for the remainder of this session. Back to racing action. The sun has come up, we've passed the night time, and we got just over 30 minutes to go in this race. Logan Oran still leading the way, almost a lap ahead of Max Mulder. And Cas Nurians has fought his way back into P3 after his early unscheduled pit stop for repairs. And we're gonna have a little look here at the fuel situation, because it's really interesting to see if one driver has to convert to a two-strap strategy. Logan Oran got 61 liters left. I think he should be fine to the end. 54 for Max, that's a little closer. But I think he should be good to the end as well. Cas Nuchians is good to the end anyway, because he was a little bit off sync because he had to make an unscheduled pit stop early on in this race. Weston Edwards obviously had to make that pit stop for repairs about 10 laps ago. He's good on fuel. Jason Gilbert good on fuel as well. So is Senna Hervaya, possibly 41 liters. Never mind that, Senna Hervaya is limping back into the pits, as it seems like. Looks like that Audi is hurt. Seems like some suspension damage for Hervaya, and he hits pit lane speed, and there's going to be another repair pit stop for Hervaya.
Yeah, I mean Logan Aron has made a very strong start in the F1 Championship as well, by already having quite a sizable lead in the Championship and having picked up a few race wins, and he's already also making a perfect start to the GT3 season.
Yeah, racing is something very psychological, and if you are in a mental state that you got so much self-confidence, like Logan Orant has, he has dominated the start of the F1 season, as you just said, and he had a really strong finish to last year's GT3 Championship. I think he got all the momentum going, and if you got momentum going in racing for once, then you can just keep building up on it, and I think that's what he's doing right now. He's, I think, on top of his game at the moment, as he's putting on an absolute clinic. I mean, he's constantly posting mid 46s to low 46s. I don't remember the last lap he did not post 46, so unbelievably consistently fast for the American.
It is very, very impressive, the way he's able to be fast and also be consistently fast as well.
As Senna Hervaya is exiting the pits now, so he's back out on the racetrack. Difficult debut for him in the GT3 series, but most importantly, so far it seems like he will finish this race, and this is all that matters in such a long endurance race. He's currently running 10 laps behind the leader Logan Orant, so 10 laps down. 7 laps behind the next car, which is Jason Gilbert in the Porsche, who is currently running in 5th place. He is also making his SRL debut today. Having a little look at the penalties, as you can see on the right hand side on your screen, Cas Nurians with 3 seconds worth of time penalties. He got a big gap to Cameron Weston-Edwards though, so that should not be an issue for him. Same for Cameron Weston-Edwards, who got 7 seconds. He's running a lap ahead of Jason Gilbert, who got 2 seconds, and 13 seconds for Senna Hervaya, who is running kind of out of contention, so that's not a big of a deal for him. The two leaders, Logan Orant and Max Mulder, penalty free so far. Fastest lap of the race at the moment goes to Logan Orant, surprise surprise, with a 45.7. Unfortunately missed that on the screen, otherwise I would have mentioned that, because that is a blistering lap time, 45.7. Unbelievable.
That is an unbelievable lap time indeed, considering my fast lap was a 47.7, I believe. If he's able to be in the 45s, is extraordinary.
Extraordinary indeed. Looking at the beginning of the race, we saw a great battle between you and Cas Nurians. Was that more fun, or was it a bit annoying that it took for such a long time? Because obviously that cost you guys a chunk of time in the race, generally speaking. But it looked like a lot of fun. I mean, it kept going for about 10 laps.
Yeah, it's always a bit of both. Indeed, it does lose you time, and also you're trying to stay concentrated, to lose as little time as possible, and also it's always a little bit risky. But of course there's also always an aspect of enjoyment to it, because it is definitely a lot of fun to battle, of course, on the track, especially when you're the person overtaking the other driver. But yeah, of course it's not ideal, but in such a long race it is also nice to sometimes come across another car and scrap it out on the track. We were getting close to the pits, of course, so I knew that at that point we would probably spread out a little bit more, also because Cas was running on a different strategy. And I think at that point the top 3 was already quite far in front of us as well. But of course you never know how it's gonna progress further into such a long race. But I think it's always a bit of both. It is enjoyable, but it's also sort of frustrating sometimes because it can lose you a little time.
It does. Take us through the braking zone in turn 1, because I think this is probably the most interesting part of this track. I've noticed through this race that you seemed really confident under braking into turn 1, especially compared to Carsten Nurjans in the battle. You seem to be very confident on the brakes that you don't miss the corner, even if you went for the outside line through turn 1. Describe your way of braking into turn 1. What is the braking point there, and how do you manage to turn and brake at the same time, which is really stressful for the tires and generally not what you want to do in a race car?
Yeah, I think turn 1 is probably one of my favorite corners on this track, and also one of the most tricky ones. But I think it's a challenge of indeed braking and turning at the same time, and triple braking into the corner is what makes it so challenging, but also enjoyable if you get it right. And yeah, I think you can sort of start braking just after you get off the banking, when you get close to the wall. And yeah, it's always trying to find the limit between triple braking it in and braking as hard as you can without actually braking too hard, because of course it's very difficult to have the backhand kick out there, because even when you have the brake balance a little bit towards the front, like around 56%, the backhand still wants to kick out there, because it just gets very light, and because of course you're turning into the corner. If you put the brake bias too much towards the front, of course you're going to lock up the front tires and have a lot of understeer and go straight on. So it's a very interesting corner indeed, and I think once you find the right balance in how much brake pressure you have to apply, then it is very confidence inspiring, especially if you notice that you gain time on the drivers there, or where you notice that you're stronger there and you're able to overtake. Like with Casnoins, indeed, I noticed that I was able to brake a little bit later or play around a little bit more with my braking points, and often when I opted for the outside I saw that he kind of went a little bit deep, and whenever I was on the inside I was able to brake later as well. So yeah, it's a very interesting corner, and at some point you kind of know how late and how hard you can brake. I just try to hold on to that for every lap. And it can be a little bit scary because, yeah, in turn 1 you can always kind of feel the backhand wanting to let go, and sometimes it steps out a little bit. Also, even on the exit, of course, when it gets unstable on the entry, you can still feel it sometimes when you get on the throttle again and you have to catch it. But I think, yeah, if you also have a moment every lap, you sort of get used to catching the slide a little bit, and at that point you kind of get confident with it, and it doesn't really feel sort of scary anymore, because you know how the car is going to react. But yeah, it's just about finding the right balance between not braking too hard and unsettling the car, but braking hard enough so you can brake late.
You were talking about the right balance there. I think someone who found the right balance is Logan Rorand, who has dipped into the 145s again. I mean, he doesn't have any pressure from behind. He could just stroll home, basically, take it easy, but he's pushing flat out. That is a true racing driver mindset. As you can see, Max Mulder just in front, and he could put P2 a lap down here.
Yeah, it's absolute dominance by Logan Aron, and I think maybe even knowing that he has a very big gap behind him of nearly a lap, maybe even gives me even more confidence to just push, because he can afford to push as well. Like, if he makes a mistake, it won't it likely won't affect the outcome of this race, of course. So maybe sometimes having a big lead even inspires the confidence to just push and yeah, just stay in your rhythm. And I think sometimes you can almost even like decrease the chance of a mistake by just pushing hard, because at the point where you start slowing down and start taking it easy, you kind of disrupt your rhythm a little bit, and it can actually lose a bit of concentration and make you more vulnerable for mistakes. So by just keeping the pace up and by pushing hard, you just stay in your rhythm and negate the chance of making mistakes.
He has not made a mistake all race, so I mean that's just testament of how consistent he's been. He had that one moment about 15 minutes ago, I think it was, where he dipped 2 tires into the grass when he was behind Cameron Edwards, but apart from that, it was a picture-perfect race, and that is something you need in endurance racing. I mean, being fast is one thing, but being mistake-free is what really matters in these races, and Logan Moran today has been both. And if you manage to be both at the same time, it's basically impossible to be beaten in such an endurance race like today.
Exactly, and like I said, to keep pushing is often the right thing to do, because also the track temperature is quite low. The ambient temperature is 9 degrees and the track is 17, so the tires also cool off quite quickly, especially on the banking, of course, where there's not a lot of load being put through the tires. So by pushing, you also keep the temperature in the tires, which even helps you to go even faster. So that's like the physical benefit of pushing hard, but also, like I said, by pushing, you also just stay in your rhythm and yeah, sort of make the chance that you will make mistakes or spin out or whatever. Just sort of, yeah. I can't talk, never mind. I don't know why I'm starting to finish my sentence, but what I was trying to say is that you just shouldn't sort of slow down and take it easy, because it can just very easily disrupt the flow.
So we got 20 minutes left in this 2.4-hour race. Logan Moran on lap 70, leading basically a lap in front of... Oh, there's an incident! Well, Max Muller just avoided him. I think that was Cas Nucci. No, that was Jason Gilbert who hit the wall, and this has slowed Max Muller down, who has just gone a lap down to race leader Logan Moran. So P1 laps P2, and that was a really scary moment, especially for Max Muller, who I think just avoided Jason Gilbert, who hit that wall, the tire barrier. And now Mulder a lap behind Logan Moran.
Yeah, they both did well to avoid it, to be honest. Because also picking up damage and having to repair it in the pit lane is something that can cost you a lot of time in this game.
Oh, this is something really interesting. I'm interested if Max Mulder will attack Logan Moran to stay on the lead lap, just for a psychological thing, because I don't think Max Mulder likes to be lapped by the leader while running P2. I'm interested to see what Mulder does here. If he stays behind or if he goes for the overtake. He looks down to the inside, but he stays behind for now. I mean, we do know Max Mulder as a very aggressive driver, someone that... Whoa,
yeah,
there he goes! There he goes with his slide and he spins! Oh, wow! And Logan Moran did well to stay on the outside there, because he knew what was coming.
Yeah, I mean,
is that really necessary?
Yeah, I was about to say the same thing. I mean, it's not necessary, but I can get why he went for that. It is a little bit unnecessary.
I mean, it is more like a mental thing, but I get if it works, it's probably better for him. It makes you feel a little bit better, but just the risk of what could possibly happen if it goes wrong, in my opinion, is just too high. If you, like you just did, if he spins towards the outside and hits race leader Logan Moran and ends his race possibly, that would be disastrous.
Exactly, and like I said, sometimes like when you get unlucky and damage the suspension, it can really mess up your race, because it slows you down a lot, makes it quite a lot more difficult to drive, and if you have to actually repair it, it can lose you minutes. So that's the only thing that could prevent Logan Moran from actually winning this race.
Cam Weston-Edwards running in P4. I've mentioned earlier that Cam Weston-Edwards unfortunately made that mistake about half an hour ago, where he hit the wall somewhere and had to make an unscheduled pit stop. Before that, he was on pace with Max Mulder in second place and was actually catching up to him. He was on pace for a P2. This is, for me at least, one of the most impressive drives I've seen from Cam Weston-Edwards. He nowadays is a part-time driver, obviously. With university, doesn't have that much time for racing anymore, and he generally doesn't have that much experience in GT3 cars. How impressive is it for him to just hop into a GT3 car, go onto this track, do a little bit of practice before the race, and be on pace with the reigning champion?
Yeah, it's certainly a good start from him, being in 4th place in the Mercedes. He was also up there at the start of the race in the lead group, and he was already straight away up to his usual behavior, because I think it was like lap 2 or 3 and everybody was still running close together. It might have been a little bit later on, around lap 5 or something. And I was running close to Max and Senna, I believe. And Cameron was coming up to us in the run up towards turn 1. And he was like weaving and sort of having almost like intimidating us going into the break zone of turn 1. And I even braked early because I was sort of expecting him to dive bomb. But then he sort of barged into me, pushed me off the track. I completely slid sideways off the circuit, just didn't hit the wall, luckily. And Senna basically did the same thing. He was also completely barged out of the way. And luckily it didn't really cost us that much, apart from a few seconds. Like, we didn't get any damage from it. But that was kind of like, yeah, welcome back. Cameron is back racing with SRL. We know that his driving style and his way of attacking and defending can be very, very aggressive. So, yeah, that was definitely sort of a wake-up call to realize that Cameron Edwards is racing again, albeit part-on.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how many more outings we'll see from Cameron Edwards. He recently told me that there might be a few more starts than last season, so that definitely has me a little excited, especially as well in the F1 series, of course. I mean, there are a few, I mean, only 6 races run in the GT3 series, so it will be interesting to see how this lines up with his schedule. But he definitely has shown, to me at least, that he is capable of driving anything at any time, and that is a skill that not many people have. Cas Nurians running in 3rd place. He would make it a double podium for the Netherlands and for Audi as well, obviously with Max Muller running in 2nd place. Nurians, to me, could be a championship contender this season. How do you feel about his pace? Generally speaking, of course, he had a bit of poor luck today, but how do you feel is his pace looking like, and do you think he could be a championship contender?
Good question. I think he has shown some really impressive pace also last season. I think today he was a little bit similar to me, especially in the phase of the race when we were close together. So I think today he hasn't really been able to get close to Logan Ron and Max Mulder, but maybe he could be a championship contender, because we have seen on tracks like Portimao last year that he can be very, very fast. I think, wasn't it when he made his debut in Portimao where he was leading by a long way and then disconnected?
Exactly, yeah.
I think that was his first race, wasn't it?
Exactly, where he disconnected leading with 10 minutes to go in the race, yeah.
I mean, that was a very unfortunate debut, but I think even in the race after that, didn't he win actually at the end of that season?
He won the finale at Zolder last season in the wet, yeah, he did.
So, I mean, races like that definitely makes him a contender, in my opinion. And even today, I mean, his pace hasn't been as good as the top 2, but he has kept his nose clean, and that's why he's running in 3rd position. Despite having to pit twice, I mean, he was a little bit off schedule because he had to pit earlier, probably because of damage, I assume.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, why not? Absolutely, he's definitely a very quick driver, and if he can put up performances like we've seen at Portimao and Zolder last season, then he could definitely be a threat for the title.
I certainly agree. Cas Nurians is a driver to definitely keep an eye on as we progress in this season. We obviously got 5 races left. How do you feel about the rest of the schedule? We obviously got a few tracks we've never been on, like Donington, for example, or Brno in the Czech Republic, and even the Nordschleife, which is coming up, the second 2.4-hour race of the season. How do you feel about the rest of the calendar, and what race are you most excited for on the remaining schedule?
I actually really like the calendar. To be honest, all the tracks that are coming up are tracks that I enjoy, and it's very nice to see that we're gonna visit a few new locations as well, which we haven't done in the first 3 seasons of GT3. I'm not sure which circuit I'm looking forward to most. I think maybe the Nürburgring Noordschleife, or Bathurst, because those are two really spectacular circuits. I really like both of them. I really don't know what to expect from the Nürburgring though, because of course that's a very special track, a very long and difficult one, and I can't really predict what the race is going to be like around there. So, and I also don't really know what my performance is going to be like, because of course it's a circuit where it's very easy to make mistakes as well. I think, considering it is such a long track, the race is probably going to be very spread out at some point. But it is a very spectacular circuit, and I'm very glad to see it on the calendar, as opposed to the regular GP circuit we had last year. But yeah, also Bathurst Mount Panorama is a very good circuit, which could also provide some good racing. And yeah, Donington and Brno are also tracks I like. I think Donington will suit the Audi a bit better, but Brno is a very fast and flowing circuit. Road America is a very good track as well. I've really missed it from the IMSA series, which we had a couple of years ago. And then Fuji is probably my least favorite one out of those, but even that is a very decent track. And I've also had a decent race around there in season 1 when I believe I finished second behind Alexi. So I mean, I do feel good about the circuits coming up. I do think they're a good selection of tracks. And if I have to pick one, then maybe I'm gonna say the Nürburgring Nordschleife, just because it's such a unique track and one we've never been to.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I think the Nordschleife generally. I mean, I'm not on the track, but even as a commentator, this is something I'm looking forward to, because it's such a challenging track. And 2.4 hour endurance race on that circuit must be so demanding, especially mentally, on this long racetrack. I'm definitely looking forward to see what's going to happen, who is going to excel on that circuit. That's definitely a race I'm also looking forward to, viewing here from the booth.
Yeah, so do I. And good point about saying that it's a challenging track, and also to stay concentrated for 2.4 hours. Like on a track like Daytona, that's relatively easy because you've got a lot of time to rest on the banking. So, like mentally, it's quite an easy track because you don't have to concentrate that much to, go around. But on the Nürburgring Nordschleife, that's a completely different story. Like you can't lose focus for a second because it's just corner after corner, and it's so difficult as well to memorize the track and to always exactly what you're coming up to and know the references and stuff like that. So yeah, it is such a challenging circuit.
It definitely is. Coming back to this race, we're now with 10 minutes left. Unfortunately, we don't have any close battles on track, especially the second half. I feel like after midnight has been fairly calm, I'd say, which it might be a testament to the great driving standards from everybody here today. I mean, we had a few incidents, but nothing compared to last season, for example. But then again, the conditions probably played a big factor there today. Last season. Today, obviously, beautiful Florida weather, sunshine, no rain. I think this is something the drivers will be quite happy about. We've seen so much wet weather running in the last 3 seasons of GT3, International GT3 Championship, that I think everybody is quite happy to see some dry running for once. And good race, good season opener so far, and let's hope that everything will go well and Logan Arand will get his well-deserved victory after an absolute clinic.
Yeah, he must be one of the favorites, even also going into the next few races. Of course, the trucks are very different, and I think maybe the twisty circuits like Donington will suit the Ferrari a little bit less, because it seems to be very, very quick in a straight line and slightly worse in the corners than, for example, the Audi. But yeah, I mean, he's definitely one of the favorites for the championship. And I really wonder what the Nordschleife is going to bring as well, in terms of, I think that is a race that could shake things up, because it is not really about pace around there, but more about consistency and just minimizing mistakes. And I'm not really sure if maybe Max and I will have an advantage around there, because we did a 24-hour race around there 2 years ago on this game with GT3 cars. So we have done like 100 laps of practice, but that is 2 years ago, so it's probably too long ago to have any sort of advantage out of that. But maybe also as a question for Nu, do you know the Nordschleife out of your head?
I think I do. Yeah, I think I do. If I'm driving, I definitely know it for sure. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not surprised that the next corner is right. But now going through it in my head, I think there are a few points where I'm not sure how it continues. But generally speaking, if I'm in the car, I'm quite confident I know the track. I've driven on it, not as much as you obviously. I've driven on the track quite a lot, and I've watched races there a lot as well. Like hot laps, I love watching hot laps of the Nordschleife, and obviously the 24 hours of the Nürburgring, which is happening once a year. I usually watch that as well, so I think I know the track quite well.
Yeah, I mean, I basically feel the exact same way. Like, if I'm in the car, I know what's coming up, but when I can't actually visualize a full lap when I try to do a lap in my head. So I kind of know it, but I don't completely know it like you do with other tracks. So yeah, I always find it interesting, and I don't know what it's going to be like for other drivers, but even after doing like 100 laps in a 24-hour race, I still actually can't completely visualize a lap in my head, which is kind of crazy after so long, but yeah, it is such a long track, and I don't know, whenever I just think about it, I kind of confuse bits, but indeed, when you're actually driving, it's different, because then you have the reference points, and then you actually know what's coming up.
Exactly, I agree. Just an inspiring track, in my opinion, something that can't be replicated anywhere on the world. That's just such a unique track. As we are currently looking at Max Mulder coming through the bus stop chicane. I was keeping an eye on the gap between Mulder and Nurians, because Nurians' pace compared to Mulder, I don't know if Mulder is just taking it easy now, but Nurians' pace is great, and he's running 30 seconds behind Max Mulder, and if you just take that unscheduled pit stop away you had to do on lap 4, these two would have been battling and would have been right there battling for P2. So yeah, interesting to see how things would have played out without things happening. But then again, I'm always someone that says things that happened for a reason, so it doesn't make any sense to think about what could have been. So yeah, Nurians looking strong there. P3 as Mulder loses the backhand of the exit of the horseshoe, goes for a little spin in the grass, and that 30-second gap is coming down. I mean, it's still comfortable, but
yeah, I mean, maybe this will lit the eyes up of Krasnoyan, knowing that the gap is coming down, and of course, well, there's only 3.5 minutes left, but if he keeps making mistakes, maybe it could become a little bit exciting, but I think Max still has a comfortable margin, so he completely knows that he shouldn't overpush the car now and just bring it up to P2.
I mean, this must have been just a lack of concentration, because Mulder has been mistake-free so far this race, and I mean, after 2.4 hours of racing, at some point you might get a little tired, you know, you start to maybe not focus 100% anymore, and as soon in racing, generally, I think, if you don't focus 100% anymore, if you're just at 98%, mistakes like this can happen, and I think Mulder is back awake now, and I don't think he'll make another one of these. The gap is now 20 seconds between Nurians and Mulder, so that little off-track excursion has cost Mulder about 10 seconds. So, I mean, you got just under 3 minutes to go. That should be comfortable enough for Mulder to bring home the P2. As Logan Orand is on lap 80 now. So it should be around, I think, 2 laps to go, if not mistaken, running the numbers. This is coming to lap Cameron Edwards, who is running in 4th.
Yeah, losing 10 seconds from Max isn't too bad. He was lucky there was not a wall there on the infield, because he had a lot of space to just spin off and rejoin the circuit. But yeah, he should be saving it to hold on to his 2nd place. Going with Edwards now coming up to Logan Ron, who was lapping him. Hopefully Logan Ron will be able to negotiate his way cleanly past the Mercedes.
Yeah, I think Weston Edwards car might still be a little bit damaged, because ever since his little incident, his pace wasn't quite there anymore. As you can see, Weston Edwards waving by Logan Orand, who is now coming onto the final lap of the race. White flag is out one more time around for Logan Orand in the 2.4 hours of Daytona in 2022. What a race it has been from the American. Unbelievable.
Yeah, picture perfect race, an absolute exhibition.
Oh, Cameron Weston Edwards went into the wall in the background there in turn 1. He missed his braking point, I think. He got a good gap on Jason Gilbert, but I just saw the yellow Mercedes of him going straight into the tire barrier.
Yeah, I was about to say, I thought I saw something yellow fly off.
That is not something you want to do on your final lap. I mean, his front end was damaged already from an earlier crash, but yeah, that has taken a lot more damage now. But he should be good for a P4 finish with a good gap on Jason Gilbert. So one more time, coming from the infield onto the banking, into oval turn 1, maxing out the Ferrari engine one more time. The beautiful V8 sound.
Has it ever been done where a driver won the GT3 and F1 Championship in the same season? Because I'm trying to think about Jensen Randall, but I'm not sure if that was the same year.
Yeah, Jensen Randall done it. Jensen Randall did the double 2 seasons ago.
Well, Logan Ron is definitely already starting this campaign, looking good to try and follow it up by also taking the double in the same season. But of course, it's still very early days.
I mean, he has done the right steps here today as he's coming through the final corner, oval turn 4. One more time. A clinic, a performance that couldn't be closer to perfection on home soil. Logan Orand wins the 2022 SRL Daytona 2.4 hours for Ferrari. What a drive.
Yeah, well done to Logan Ron by winning his home race in the first round here in GT3. Max Mulder will bring it home in second place for Audi.
Exactly, Max Mulder running a lap behind race winner Logan Orand, and Logan Orand on the final lap did a 45.8. Is that believable?
Just to rub it in.
Just to rub it in, just to show off. Just like Sebastian Vettel in his best years. Amazing. Exactly. Max Mulder flicked the lights. He's gonna come home in second place. He's slowing down. Possibly. Oh, Kasnurians is not that far away. But yeah, I think he will be happy with a P2 finish. That is good for the championship. Kasnurians, good recovery drive from an early pit stop. He is going to come home in a strong third place for Audi. He's going to round up the podium, make it a double podium for Audi and for the Netherlands. There we go. And Cameron Weston Edwards. Has he crossed the line yet? I think he has. His car is definitely damaged, but he's going to come home in P4. With Jason Gilbert coming over the line now. His car is quite damaged as well. He's going to finish in 5th place. Senna Herweyer in P6, and non-finishers with a DNF is Nick van Gelder here in the booth, and Christian Dorman for Lamborghini, who retired before the race even started. So yeah, a perfect start to the season for Logan Orand and Ferrari. You can see the fastest lap of the race, a 45.6 by Logan Orand, which is, yeah, I can't really explain how amazing it is. I mean, the next quickest lap of the race was a 46.5 by Max Mulder, so almost a second slower than Logan Orand. And yeah, that's pretty much it. What a round 1.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see whether Logan will be able to keep this up for the future races, and if he'll be able to repeat this for the next few rounds. And it's going to be an interesting championship for sure.
That is for sure. And that's it from round 1 of the International GT3 Championship Season 4, the 2022 edition of the 2.4 hours of Daytona. I really hope you guys enjoyed today's coverage. It's been a long race, and if you stuck through it all, I'm Yeah, you could be proud of yourself. Good race, fantastic performance by Logan around. Subscribe to the channel to see more SRL content. We're going to continue the F1 season next week at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. So obviously next week in real life there's the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, and we in SRL also going to have round 6 at Abu Dhabi. So definitely excited for that. New layout as well. First time on the new layout. Interested to see how that plays out with possibly more overtakes. Check out the links in the description below. We got the SRL League Instagram account for highlights, interviews, the results, standings, and much, much more. Also check out our SRL League website down in the description below. If you are interested in joining the SRL League, check out the SRL League website. There's a little form on there that you can fill out and send to us. We're always happy to introduce you to our group of drivers and great people, generally speaking. If you want to support the work that we put out, you can check out the SRL League Patreon page down below and become a patron. We would really appreciate that. And yeah, that's pretty much everything from me. Anything to add, Nick van Gelder?
Well, last week everybody was joking about my time management, so this week everybody is about my fuel management. Let's hope that I will also be able to reach the finish again for a change at some point in the next race. But yeah, I mean, apart from that, we have seen quite an interesting race today, and of course in these long endurance races at some point you do see gaps starting to form, but I think the result today definitely shows who the strong drivers are, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how the rest of this championship is going to pan out.
So am I, for sure. And yeah, that's it. I've been Sandro. I hope you enjoyed the race, and I'll see you guys next week. Goodbye.